All right, that's enough loading. uh, yeah. Trying out a new stream intro. Trying to rebrand the whole thing. It's still a work in progress. I need a little bit more time. My plan is to like do a whole thing with like motion graphics and then like just like a door that opens, similar to the previous stream opening, but yeah. Oh shit. Every time it feels like every time I stream is like the first time I'm doing it. Like it's always so hard, like just starting it up, because for some reason I get this weird like performance anxiety, whenever I have to like talk in front of the camera. I did it even in the commentaries too. I think I touched on this in like the first stream I did. It just feels weird that like each one of these streams that I do, I'm like I'm like really anxious before I hit the start button. Um, but anyway, welcome to everyone who is here to witness the dribble uh, leak from my mouth. uh, it's me, the guy who no one cares about, who no one cares about the content. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, there's probably like what, like five of you that like my show. Five of you that, and maybe like only one of you that can just stand me talking for hours upon hours. But welcome to the 1 year anniversary stream of Open Lobby. Yeah, a show that I've spent this exact day. Well, actually, I can't say that. This was the day that the show was, the first episode aired. Was on August 23rd, 2023. But the inception of the show, like the whole creation, the pre-production of the show happened. It was probably around like started probably sometime maybe early mid June, I want to say. Um, but yeah, a year ago today, the first episode was released, and the first season, I made it a goal to release every episode on a weekly basis, and I stuck to it pretty well. It was I learned a lot from it. I learned a lot from the production of the first season. One of the biggest things was that you can't rush things, and like sometimes a tight deadline is good because it really makes you get your shit together and get your shit in order. And some people can excel with tight deadlines. I think I can do that. I think I could do it too, but I also think that just you can see with season two, it's taking a lot longer for season two to roll out, and it's partially, it's all my fault, mainly, but mainly due to the fact that it's a much greater undertaking than I initially anticipated. But before we get into all that, I wanted to just do like a quick introduction. I sort of like sped through my introduction, just a little bit ago when I was talking about the streaming thing. But yeah, for those of you that aren't aware, my name is Zach Rassman. It should say that, underneath the stream somewhere. Yeah, that's me. That's the guy that does this stuff, makes the videos and whatever. It's the guy behind the madness, I guess. Yeah, I did a whole rebranding. And I guess that clues into my thing that I wanted to talk about first, like where have I been and why I haven't streamed in so long. Part of the reason is just because, streaming, you really need to be in the mood, at least for me, to stream. Like the reason why I chose today was because, I had a day off today, and I felt good. Like I felt like I had the energy for it, and so I wanted to do it. But it's not like always I feel like that. A lot of the times I'm around this time of day, especially for some reason I get very, like this whole week I've been very sluggish and very tired around this time of the day. I don't know why that is. Um, but I mean, maybe it's the weather. For those of you who don't know, I live in Florida, and suffice it to say, a lot of the time, shit sucks over here. It's like it really sucks. It's sort of like that kind of weather that I don't know. I'm just not very the energy's not there for me. Like I guess I'm that kind of person where like if my environment isn't in order, and there's no consistency and it's always like hot and musky out, and then it's like, I'm not in the right frame of mind, I guess. But yeah, I just haven't been feeling it. And my absence was mainly due to working on the episode. The episode took a long time to make, as you can tell. And I wanted to stream that same weekend because I released the episode, I think, on a Thursday. I wanted to stream that weekend, but then again, I didn't feel up to it. I felt very well. It was actually my mother had come down from because she's living temporarily in the states up in the upper states of the U.S. So she had come down, and I needed to pick her up from the airport. So I didn't want to. I didn't want to, be streaming when I could be spending time with her. But yeah. So then I just kept pushing it back and back and back. But I've wanted to do this stream for weeks now, and now I'm finally doing it. But a little bit before we get into talking more about the show, because that's what this stream's about, what I want it to be about at least. I guess I should do a bit of housekeeping. So the reason, part of the reason. For my absence, you'll see as well, is that I think I put in a community post at some point that I was looking for jobs. I'm still looking for jobs. But the point is to not give up, just keep going, keep pushing, because if you stop at any point and you think to yourself, I'm never gonna get where I want to be, I'm never gonna make it, I'm just gonna give up and throw all my goals and aspirations in the bin, then you're never going to make it regardless. The odds of you making it at some point is all dependent on your level of commitment. If you're not willing to commit to your goals, and you just put a pause on them, then yeah, you're never gonna get where you want to be. But if you actually if you don't stop and you keep grinding, it sucks, because it takes it sucks to sort of like know that each and every day you feel like you're not getting success, but you are, because the people who bail out because they're not achieving success, don't want to say you're better than them, but you're better off than them, because you have a goal, you're pushing for it, and you're trying to. You're not going to let anybody get in the way of that. Or stop you from doing it, because the only person that can truly stop you from your goals is yourself. I've known that for a while, but more recently have I come to terms with that mindset that you're your own worst enemy in a lot of ways, and that's sort of, funnily enough, that's part of what I'll be talking about today, because it's part of the thematic of the show, what I want the show to be about. Yeah, so besides, so with that in mind, because I've been job searching, I wanted to rebrand a little bit, make myself appear a bit more, I don't know, professional. Like I need to start taking this stuff a little bit more seriously, Like I can't just post a video and then, sorry, my dog is distracting me back there. It's just rolling around. I don't want to just post a video and then go ghost, right? That's kind of what I'd like to do, because for some weird reason I like to be a bit ambiguous and mysterious, and just whenever I got something, I just drop it and that's it. But that's obviously not the best thing to do. The best thing to do would be to promote yourself and brand recognition and all this stuff that they teach you in marketing school. I didn't go to marketing school. I went to film school. And that's not really on the priority in film school. They don't really teach you how to market yourself. They just go, oh yeah, you got to meet people. That's like you got to network and meet people. Like your only success in the industry is if you know somebody. Doesn't matter about your skills. You could have all the skills in the world, but if you don't know anybody, you're shit out of luck. So I guess it's kind of marketing, but I don't know. But so I made a website. It's called newshapeproductions.com. That's sort of my unofficial production company. Because I gotta appear to be a bit more professional and put together. I do plan on making it an official company, but yeah, New Shape Productions. That's the title slate with the little guy that you saw in the opening titles of episode 2, and in this stream, the little guy is dancing. Very proud of that little guy. The way I came up with it was the design and the idea for the company was I was thinking like, man, I got to come up with something that makes me more official than Team Killtacular. Because I was just like, Team Killtacular, there's a thing that like 10, 11-year-old me came up with when I first made this channel. And I sort of just stuck with it because I thought it was like charming because, just of like, the fact that it's so, intrinsically tied with the identity of Halo, and that's sort of what predominantly the productions that are being put out on this channel are. But then as I started to think about it, I was like, I don't want to just do Halo. Like, I don't want to just be known as the Halo guy for the rest of my stay on this channel, because like I've said before, I've had about 3 channels in my lifetime, spanning about over a decade on YouTube. And with every channel, it's sort of like a new like phase of my like creative journey. So like this channel was predominantly like just whatever I came up with when I was a kid. And then when I entered like my teenage years / adulthood, or young adulthood, I had another channel where I focused on whatever content I was making there. And then I had a channel that I made when I was in college, and it was more serious filmmaker approach, to the content. But like now I sort of just see like the benefit of just having all of my content produced on one platform, on one pipeline, and a variety of content as well to show like that I have more skills than in just one area. So eventually I want to put out like maybe some live action stuff on this channel, maybe some 2D animation stuff once I learn how to do that. Because before you learn how to 2D animate, you got to learn how to draw in 2D. And I can doodle, but I cannot fucking draw. I can sketch, cannot draw for shit. But so that's what I want to do going forward, and that's why there's sort of a rebrand of the channel, if you've been noticing. But yeah, I got a website. If you go to the website, it should be in the description. You get it's a pipeline straight to all my stuff. You get all of like pretty much everything that I've made over the years that at least I want to be public. You'll see on the website. You'll find a link to it somewhere. There's a section on the website for fan art. If you have any fan art, a couple of people have already made fan art for the channel and for the show, and I think that's so fucking cool. Like the fact that I've, however small, I've touched people in a way. I should probably phrase that differently. I've impacted people. I hate that. I hate that too, but I'm just gonna roll with it. I've impacted people in a way where they feel like they want to create something for my show. When like my creation spawned another creation out of just love for what I make, which I think is really fucking cool. So I'm very appreciative for any stuff that I get like that. If you have any of that stuff, you can send it to my email. I think it's ZachTKTRasman@gmail.com. It's on the website. You can find it on there. Oh, what's up, man? Yeah, so Hey, how's it going? And how's the new episode going for Open Lobby? I'm gonna get to that. But I'm doing all right. Hope you're doing good too. Yeah, I'm almost there. I gotta do some housekeeping bullshit. So sorry. I'll get to that. Hold on. Um, Thanks for being here. Um, Another thing I want to point out. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I just did it yesterday, and I've already gotten like some attention on my music. After the release of episode two, I put together what all the music that I've made up to this point that was released on my SoundCloud, which you can find in the description. But I also now have all my music distributed on platforms like Apple. I don't think it's on Apple Music yet, but I have it on Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music. And So if you want to listen to any of the tracks from the first two episodes of Open Lobby Season 2, there's links in the description. There's links on my website. You guys feel free to listen to it. I'm really happy that I finally got that out there, and actually people are listening to it, and I guess getting it recommended in their in their browsing sections on YouTube, because I haven't promoted it yet. And people are listening to it already, so that's really cool. I made a website, trying to be a bit more, trying to create a brand, a bit more, have a more professional image, I guess, and distributed some of my music. I still have more music to come, so on all other platforms, once I have more music, I'll update it. I just wanted to get all of it out right now, so if anybody's interested, they can listen for the music and stuff like that. I thought that was cool. Anyway, what is the point of the stream? Well, it is like I said earlier, it is the anniversary of Open Lobby. And so I thought I just would touch on how the initial show idea, where the inception of the show came from. So, a little over a year ago, I was broke, and in college, I was in my final year of college, and I was feeling very down, because I'm the type of person where I need to be working on something. I don't know if I'm a workaholic, but I just need to be creating, because creation gives me a fulfillment to my existence. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's not a healthy thing, but everybody needs their vices. Everybody has their things that pushes them and keeps them going. And mine is just making shit. Whether that's making music, making content that people can watch. I like to entertain. That's my thing. It's been my thing for years. So, I'd always toyed around with an idea of making I've always for years I've been I want to make a machinima. I think that's something that I would really enjoy, because obviously I'm a Halo nerd, to a fault. All of my friends make fun of me for how much this game series means to me. They're like, dude, you only play Halo. It's yeah. Yeah, but it's just because no other game has made me have as much fun as Halo. And so I was I wanted to do a machinima for a long time. And then when hold on, have you ever thought of a game night live stream? Yeah, totally. I wouldn't mind doing that at some point. It's just with live streams, another reason why I don't do live streams often is because I'm the type of person where I want to be working on something at all the time. Always in the back of my head, I feel like I could be doing something productive, for the show, or just working on some sort of creative project that fulfills me in some way. And so streaming is a big commitment, especially if I'm going to stream a game. It's because then I gotta, if I'm gonna play like a campaign, then I gotta like play it from start to finish, and maybe I have to do multiple parts of a stream, and so it's just like it's a big commitment, and I don't want to like do like a part one of a stream and then make people wait like a month for part two. You know what I mean? So I'd have to find some time, like typically after I finish production of an episode, that's probably when I would do a gaming stream, because that at that point I'd be like, all right, I deserve a break. You know, I worked on this for so long and I committed to this for a while, but now I feel like I can take a break. But yeah, so let me get back to what I was saying. Yeah, so I got the idea for the machinima because around that time in the summer of last year, I don't know if you guys have heard of this thing called this like machinima series called like Crash. It's like really like, I don't know what the fuck that shit is, honestly. No. So I discovered this guy, Boomerang. I don't know his like exactly how to pronounce his name. I know it's like B00ang or something, Meringue or something. But anyway, he made this machinima series called Crash, and when I saw how much attention it was getting, I was initially like, I was sort of like jealous. I was like, and I don't feel any means of like admitting this. I was just like, I was jealous because I was like, man, I went to fucking film school, and I'm spending all this time trying to make like deep and like really like grounded and interesting drama pieces, because I was in that phase where I was like truly trying to take my like craft seriously, like every filmmaker does, and thinking that all of my stuff was like the most important shit in the world, and that I could change the world with my cinema. But so I was watching this stuff and I was like, man, how is he getting all this attention? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, makes sense. Because at the time it was like, people were probably starved for machinima, especially in that form. And it was sort of in a similar style to Red versus Blue, where they're just like in a canyon doing nothing, just talking. And so I was like, man, I can do this shit. Like, it wasn't really out of like jealousy where I was like, man, fuck this guy. Like, he's making machinima and he's getting all this attention. Why isn't anybody paying attention to me? But it was more so like if this guy can do it and make it happen, and he seems like he's like probably making the production all on his own, or at least like majority of it on his own, then I'm like, I can do this shit. Because for a while I was like, man, machinima must be really hard to do, right? And it is. I mean, it's hard to sort of like when you're starting out, but if you already have like a grasp on like filmmaking fundamentals, it can be a bit easier. But even then, machinima is a great filmmaking tool. It's a great tool for people to learn how to tell stories and make stuff. But so I started out making my show out of spite, but also just because I wanted to do that, because I was like, okay, once I was like, all right, I want to make a machinima. Then I immediately started brainstorming, and immediately what my mind gravitated to was the machinimas that I watched when I was younger. And then I was like, okay, I want to do something like Matchmaking, a machinima that existed back in the late 2000s, right? Doing a reaction to the Crash series? No, I can't do a reaction to the Crash series. Because one, it's not my thing. I don't want to do a reaction to some other guy's like work. Like what am I gonna do? Am I gonna how am I gonna react to it? Am I gonna like critique it? Like, personally, his show isn't really my thing. Like, I think I get the audience. I get why people watch it, because the story is a bit of a slow burner. Like, I remember like when I watched the first episode, I was like, it's charming, but like nothing happens for like in like the first 30 minutes of the first episode. I'm pretty sure like for 10 minutes they're just standing in the same spot, talking behind a rock, and I was like, nothing's happening. But again, that's sort of like the, I think because he even said it was meant to be like a fan project of like Red versus Blue, so it sort of harkens back to that older like Blood Gold Chronicles, like Red versus Blue stuff, where things were a lot more simpler and the story wasn't as like prevalent in the series at that point. Like there weren't like heavy plots and stuff like that. But like I personally, I my more of my speed now is like either shorter, like concise stuff that's like comedically driven, like Matchmaking. I could still watch Matchmaking and really appreciate a lot of what they did, even though a lot of it is very of its time. But I still, I guess it's partly nostalgia, but it's very charming to me. But I mean, another one of my creative influences that wasn't really an influence until like after season, like going into season two, was RB and the Chief, by John CJG, John Graham, Digital Fear, Digital Queer, whatever. And I'll get into that once I talk about the production of season two, but we're still on season one. So I wanted to basically make an homage to season I wanted to make an homage to the machinima and the just general content that I used to watch as a kid growing up on early days of YouTube. And so I wanted to basically do like an homage to Open Lobby. And like if you can tell, the first season is very similar in structure to, or an homage to Matchmaking, I mean. And if you can tell, the first season of Open Lobby is very similar in structure to Matchmaking, because it's Matchmaking was sort of done in a way where in the beginning it was just like a bunch of different random like skits and there was no like cohesive storyline. And then the last like 3 or 5 episodes, there's sort of like a storyline introduced once one of the characters, Travis, is introduced into the plot. Then there's sort of like you can see a narrative through line. And then going into season 2, it's sort of, then there's like a story that's built upon that. But so I sort of like that structure where like, the first few episodes are sort of like, what's the word? Like an anthology series where like each episode doesn't connect to the last one. Maybe you follow like the same characters in a few episodes, but like you don't need to have all the same character. You don't need like a continuous story. Similar to like, I don't want to compare my show to this, but like similar to like Cowboy Bebop, where like that show is an anthology series. There are specific episodes that like tie into the next one that are more story and plot driven, but a lot of them it's more so like isolated stories that are just meant to tell you a lot about the characters. And that's sort of what I wanted to do for season 1. And so with Matchmaking, I mean, again, if you look at the structure of Matchmaking, that show, it's very similar to season 1 structure, where like the first, like you could say, I guess 5 episodes of my show don't really connect at all. And then like episodes 6 through 8, there's sort of like a continuous story going on. And we're following the same like core cast of Zach, Jacob, and Banshee. And yeah, so that was just sort of the goal. When I was coming up with ideas for that season, it was just like whatever came to mind, that like, whatever sort of events I always like would remember happening in like Halo multiplayer, and then putting like a comedic twist on it. So you have like the horrible like shitty spawns on maps, and that's where you get the episode 2 tanks. Because the team, they just keep getting stuck in the base and they don't get spawned outside, and so they're just pinned down and trapped in the base. And then you have like other stuff too, more like obscure stuff, like the the Ghost of Lockout, like these like strange fan myths. So you have like the ghost player in episode 3. So I try to come up with like ideas that I felt like were fresh enough, but also harken back to a much simpler time in gaming. Like, because I didn't want to retread the same like stories in machinima that I saw when I was a kid, you know. So I tried to make everything a little bit more. I tried to put an original twist on everything if I could, and that's why I don't know if I can do any more of those kinds of open lobby episodes. Like maybe occasionally if I come up with an idea like Open Lobby Christmas, where it's like a one-off thing, but I've had people tell me like, man, I really wish you would make like more shorter like random skit stuff with these characters. It'd be fun, and I agree. But I need to have an idea that's like solid enough, and there's actually like there can be like a structure to it. Otherwise, I see no point in doing it, because I don't want to just put out short form stuff if it's not going to be like satisfying to watch, if that makes sense. And so yeah, so season 1 I feel like was a pretty all around success for the most part. Releasing it on a weekly basis was a bit troubling at times, but like my plan was, what I did was I had about a month and a half of pre-production and production before the first episode was uploaded. And then after that, I had set a timeline. Like, okay, so with the first episode uploaded, I have now 8 weeks to put out the rest of the episodes. And so basically, the first 5 episodes were shot and had like a rough assembly cut by the time I released the first episode. And then it was just about like peeling away, you know, picking at those episodes, doing the sound design, some of the scoring and stuff like that. And you know, having that time crunch, like that deadline every week, it did prove to the show's benefit, because you know, I was gaining a lot of attention each week with more consistent releases, because that's just what YouTube prioritizes. You know, and I'm just not really seeing that much success with my turnout now. And you know, I knew that was probably going to happen, but there's nothing I can really do about it. I'm trying to still promote myself. Like, I want to do like I want to make a TikTok account and do like YouTube shorts and shit. It's a lot of work that could just be put into the show itself, but you got to do that stuff now to stay relevant. So I'll probably get into that at some point. But yeah, so with God, I feel like I'm boring people, but just hang on for a second. I'm almost done. It's just I feel like I'm rambling right now. So you can see that there are some things that weren't all too great in season 1. Like a lot of the framing, like how season 1 looks, there's a dramatic difference between season 1 and season 2. Season 2 is trying to be it's trying to take a lot of inspiration from more like a film style, like where it's like it's shot a lot more dramatically and a lot more sophisticated in its filmmaking, right? Whereas season 1 was more just like shooting. I wanted to shoot it in a very sort of almost sitcom way, where a lot of the shots were like these wide angle shots. And like, you know, you have your simple one angle, like a single shot, and then a 2 shot, and then you cut to a wide for like or a master for like a comedic like moment to like pace out the scene or whatever. And I thought it worked. I thought, again, like I was paying homage to those like matchmaking and shows like it back then. But, you know, there were some obvious things that I needed to work on. Like the head bobbing was a big thing. I wanted the head bobbing to like bob whenever you talk, because I thought that would just lend to the show's comedic tone. But then going into season 2, I toned that shit way down, because especially like the drastic tone difference, it would just not work if every time someone's talking it's like this, you know. But yeah, what else did I want to talk about? I don't know if that was if that's like makes any sense to people. I just felt like I needed to say all this because, you know, um, this this show is a big commitment. And I'm only 2 episodes in to season 2, and I just want to say that I'm really grateful for the people who decide to tune in whenever a new episode is released. Whenever I put out anything, I'm happy that people care because, no matter how small my audience is, I'm really appreciative of people that come out and tune into all my stuff. Because it means a lot to know that people actually care about what I make. I expected that with season 2, I'd probably get less attention and recognition in YouTube's like algorithm or whatever because of just the lack of consistency and output. But I think for the show's benefit, that's what I have to do. Because I was not happy with, I guess, going into season 2. We can talk about that now. So season 1 of Open Lobby, a pretty, I would say it's a pretty mild success, but I mean, I feel like a lot of people have a lot of love for that season because of just because it sort of pays homage to more simpler time on the internet with its style of storytelling and harkening back to the more simpler primitive times of machinima. But then season 2 comes around and it tries to be a bit more dramatic, a bit more story driven, and character focused, and that's what I try to do. I tried because my initial idea for season 2 was I want people to care about this story because, believe it or not, part of the initial show's inception was coming up with a story. I didn't just come up with the first season paying like a homage to the older machinima for no purpose. There's a purpose to why season 1 feels so simple and so nostalgic in a way, sort of playing into people's nostalgia. There's a reason for that. And that's because, without getting into any major spoilers, I want to just discuss the themes of the show. So season 1, it's meant to sort of be like a nostalgia blanket. Like, oh, remember this sort of like content that used to be produced on the internet? This was fun, right? Remember this? And then so it's meant to be like a lot more simpler, smaller in scope. And then, with the end of the season, it gets revealed that, it's not actually 2008 era internet, Halo times. It's 2022, right at the very antithesis of Halo, when the servers for the Xbox 360 were shutting down. And so I thought to frame the story in that particular time would be great, because it would be a great like counter to how I framed the first season, where the first season harkens back to an era that we all have a great nostalgia for and a great respect for in gaming and in our lives potentially, and then to counter that with placing season 2 in a time period where pretty much this could potentially, in the framework of the story, be the end, like the definitive button in closing the door on that nostalgia and not being able to relive those memories anymore, right? Not being able to log back onto your Xbox 360 and queue up a match of Halo 3 or Halo Reach. Like, now you would have to go on MCC. You wouldn't be able to go back to you wouldn't be able to recreate those moments anymore. And that's a part of it. Like, the fact that no matter what you do, you'll never be able to recreate those experiences. Those experiences are all in the past. And that's sort of the idea for the thematic of the show, is this feeling of like dread and like an impending doom on our lives, and dread, and how there's a huge doubt in fear of failure when thinking about the future, because not everybody's future is the brightest, and there's a great sacrifice in pushing forward into the future in many people's lives, because the future isn't a guarantee. Nothing's a guarantee in life, and so it's hard to find that glimmer of hope, find like happiness in the struggle. And that's sort of what Halo, I feel like, represents for a lot of people, at least in the framework of this show. That's what Halo is meant to represent. It's meant to represent like a beacon of hope, or a beacon harkening back to a much simpler time, right? So the whole thematic of the show is all about, there's a bunch of themes about, the biggest one is to never give up, to always see things through the very end. Don't quit don't quit too early, because you never know what success you might reap and rewards you might obtain at the very end. If you quit now, you won't have a chance of even seeing that. And so and other things that tie into that, like having hope and faith in the future, and then to counter that, obviously, about despair and doubt, and your fears of failure, like, and that's all. I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying all this, because it's all there in the first 2 episodes that I've released so far of season 2. Like, the character of Skullface is like the antithesis of Zach's character, right? Because Zach, along with many other people, they're all about Zach lacks the confidence, he lacks the self-belief in himself to do what's necessary, even as small and as insignificant as being a good player for his team. Like, he's too terrified of failure that he's not even willing to attempt to play the game. He's so crippled by failure, by the fear of failure, to be specific. And I just feel like that's something that people can really connect with. And that's sort of why I wanted to tell this story. Like, I don't know if people just think I'm crazy and making shit up, but there is a story to this season that is, I hope by the end, can be very cathartic for a lot of people, in the way that it was for me. Because working on this show, this is probably so fucking boring, but you come here for the dribble. You come here for the insane ramblings of a man talking to a camera that no one is present in the room with him. It's a weird, fucked up time we live in, where I can do this of my own volition. But the idea is, as I've been working on this show, I've been dealing with my own personal struggles, and everyone's got demons, everyone's got shit going on in their life that tries to drag them down and make their life it can feel like a living hell at times. And because you're the main character in your life, in your story, you feel like it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and life just gets you down every time. At every turn, life can let you down. But and with this show, especially after, I made a community post about this as well, but after episode 1 of season 2, after that was released, because that took a toll on me, that release, because mainly the reason was because I rushed it. I should never have rushed it. I should have taken my time with it, like I did with episode 2. But I rushed episode 1, and as a result, it was partly the reason why I was so down on myself and so depressed around that time, because I just knew that I could have done better immediately. Like, as I was even working on the episode, I knew I could have done better. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I gotta get this episode out as soon as possible because people are waiting. Like I put this pressure on myself that, I don't need to, but I do it anyway because I just care so much about it, and I care so much about, being a creative and being entertaining and, wanting to wanting to entertain people, and that's what brings value to my life. And so, it was really hard, having rushed all that. And it was part of the reason why I was feeling that way. The other reason was because I was out of college now, and I was expecting my life to, immediately pick up in steam. And, I was expecting to immediately have a job right out of college. And yet I was still stuck in the same place that I'd been for years in college, broke, struggling just like everyone. And so I was getting really like in my head about it for like a while. But then as I was trying to develop more and more, like really like hearkening back to like, okay, what the fuck? Like I was just trying to figure out more and more, really set the story in stone, like, and really like not dwelling, but sort of just like continuing to process the themes and the ideas of the show that I had initially incepted it to be, because I've had roughly an outline of I have a broad outline for the entire show when I started, but the thing was, I didn't really know how it was going to end exactly, because I had all the beats laid out pretty much, but I didn't know how the show was going to end because I just didn't know. And I felt like, well, maybe when I get to that point organically, then I'll determine exactly how the show ends, because I don't want to put an ending, like set it in stone and just force it to end that way and not have it be organic, because I think a lot of storytelling, the worst thing you can do is force a message or force your story in one direction that doesn't go in line with where the story should go or where the characters should go just authentically as themselves. And I could go into that too with episode 2. That's more so an episode 2 topic. But just to talk about the process of making the show. So the show pulled me out. Like making the show pulled me out of a depression, because by working on the show and working on the ideas of the show and trying to really flesh out what this show was, not only did I get my questions answered with how the show should end, but I also, for the same reason, because the show is sort of a reflection of my life in a way, with what the themes are about, with like struggle of self-confidence, and feeling like all the pressure's on me to do my best and have to live up to expectations of other people, and the fear of doubt and fear of failure and all this stuff. Like, it's so intrinsically tied with where I'm at right now in my life. And I feel like I can say the same for a lot of people, that what the show is about in essence, a lot of people are struggling with. And that's why I felt compelled that, okay, like I'm not gonna just quit on this show because it takes a lot of work and it's a big commitment. I'm gonna see this to the very end, because I feel like this is a story with a theme and a message that is very important for a lot of people, including me. Because working out how the show is going to end completely switched my mindset. I'm not going to say that I don't have days where I'm down, and I'm not feeling my best, but for years I was wondering, what is the point? Like, what's the problem with me? Why am I so dissatisfied with my life? What is the matter? And then it's to a point where I would go through phases where I'd be like, all right, I'm really like energetic, like, here, I'm gonna look for jobs today, like I'm gonna do this, and then I just keep getting tired of the monotony of it and not seeing any immediate success, and I'm like, all right, I'm done, I'm not gonna try this ever again. And then I get discouraged, right? But I just realized, if you don't give up and you keep pushing, and you're eventually, like, the probability of you making it is significantly higher if you just keep going, versus versus quitting while you're behind. And the expression is quitting while you're ahead, but the opposite of that, because you're not ahead, you haven't even started, because I feel like a lot of people, they get discouraged easily if life isn't easy. If it doesn't come easy to them. And the thing is, life is not easy. Life sucks. Life is meant to be a struggle. You're not meant to be happy 24/7. But I think that there was a great appreciation in life when those moments do come. When those moments of happiness and success do come, they make it all the more important, and you shouldn't take those moments for granted. And so that's sort of, again, I don't know if my ramblings are coherent or make any sense, but that's like sort of what the show means to me. And that's the energy that I'm putting into the show going forward. The season 2, for a lot of people, it's probably not everyone's cup of tea, because they watch season 1 and they're like, oh, I liked it when they like a more simpler story, where it's just focused on like the jokes and being stupid, and not really like there's no drama, which I get. Like, I totally understand that. Like, it's like it's like junk food, there's no shame in loving and consuming a bit of junk food, from time to time. But season 2, I from the initial idea of the show and what it was going to be, that was always my plan, was to make a dramatic tone shift from season 1 to 2 and tell a more thoughtful and intimate story about growth, about adapting and allowing change in your life, and about self-belief and not being afraid of trying something new, and and not being afraid to fail, because failure is one of the greatest lessons that you can have in life. If you fail, I don't see failure anymore as like the end all be all. Like, now my whole perception of failure has changed. Now it's like, oh, I failed. All right, I just won't do that again. It's not going to stop me from doing my goal, from completing my goals. But failure is just like sort of like a reminder, like, oh yeah, I can fuck up, I can be stupid. But as long as I learn from my mistakes and I don't allow it to happen again, then there's actually growth, and there's work being done, And okay, so that's it. That's my whole ramble, TED Talk, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's the show in a nutshell. That's what it's about. That's sort of walking you through a bit of the process of the show. You can get more like in depth on like the actual like episode by episode production process. You can get that all in the commentaries, and then eventually when season 2 is done, I'll probably release commentaries for that as well, going into more depth, because obviously I'm not going to make commentaries now, because I'd be going in depth on like story elements, or at least I'd feel obligated to go in depth on story elements to really like talk about how things manifested in the story and paid off at certain points. So no commentaries as of right now for season 2, and not till they're done, like the whole season's done. And with that being said, let's talk about season 2, specifically like the production update. So for the person who asked earlier about the season 2 production update, so currently, I'm gonna be honest, I have not worked on I've not worked on the next coming episode yet. I know what I'm gonna do for these next. I know what I'm gonna do broadly for all of these episodes, but specifically for episode 3, I have not touched. I've not typed anything for it. I've just like, if I come up with ideas for the exact like what I want to happen in the episode, I've written it down on like an outline, a beat sheet, but I haven't written a draft of a script yet. And that was because, during the production of episode 2, I was broke, so I wanted to make some money and just focus on making money. So So I did that for a few weeks, but now I'm back, and probably soon I'll get back into the process of working on the show again at a more consistent rate. But yeah, so but as far as the actual production timeline that I anticipate now with season 2, now having released 2 episodes in the span of time that it took me to release all of season 1 plus the season 1 commentaries and the Christmas special. keep in mind, season episode 2 of season 2, the runtime of that episode is equivalent to the runtime of the entirety of season 1. I'm sorry, but it's necessary. The time that I take for these episodes are necessary, and I deeply realized that. I realized that after releasing episode 1 of season 2, because I just rushed the fuck out of that one, and I should have used I should have at least revised the script and gave it another draft through, written another draft for it, and should have changed a few things around, but can't change it now. And that's sort of the thing that I was talking about. Like, I don't see failure as like the be all end all now. Like, yeah, I fucked up with that. It was a big fuck up because that's meant to set up my entire season, but now I have to retroactively work with that and make sure that I don't do that again. And that's what I did with that's what I did with episode 2. I made sure that I did not rush that episode. I made sure that everything that was in that episode was just right. And I made sure that I did everything in my power to make that episode the best it could possibly be. And I think episode 2 is, in my personal opinion, it's some of the best shit I've ever done. So yeah. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know. But yeah, so the production timeline, I expect. Sorry, coffee. Trying to stay sharp with this stream is hard. So I had to make some coffee. That also might be the cause of why I'm rambling so much, or why it feels that way, at least. I just realized also I'm wearing a black shirt in a very poorly lit room against a black chair, so it might look like I don't have a torso for most of this, but whatever. Am I ADHD? I don't know. My mom's definitely ADD. Okay, now I'm just doing it on purpose. But the production timeline is episode 3 I expect to be released. Get ready for it. Probably, I want to say early to mid-October. I know that's like a month and a half away. But I just need, it might even be longer, because I haven't even started writing the script, but, I need some time with it, because I don't think it's going to be as big as episode 2. Granted, I said that about episode 2. I said after episode 1, it's like, oh, episode 2 is only going to be like 25, 30 minutes. Turns out it was fucking 50 minutes long. So who knows? But I don't anticipate it being that much of an undertaking as episode 2. Episode 2, there was just a lot that I had to deal with around that time, and a lot that went into the production of that specific episode. So that's why it took as long as it did. So yeah, episode 3 will probably be released in mid-October, mid to late October. Now I'm gonna say. just so you guys don't come after me. And then episode 4 is probably going to be released either late November or early December. And that's because I'm going to be writing these episodes back to back. Because I'm going to be doing because I need to do some casting for these 2 episodes. So I want to make sure that I have both of these scripts ready for my actors. So I'm going to need 2 new players, or 2 additional actors for anybody who's watching this and wants to volunteer their work. You can go to my I think you can go to my website, and there should be a link to my contacts for my email. I think it's ZachTKTRassman@gmail.com, but I think that's also in my bio on YouTube. If you click the view email address link, the tab, you can open it up and it'll reveal my email address. You can just forward your work there too. But yeah, I'll probably do like actual like official announcement maybe for some voice cast. But yeah, 2 people. I need one that sounds a bit like more mature, probably that sounds like they're in their like 30s or 40s, and then I need someone who sounds like 16 to 18ish years old. But yeah, so those 2 episodes I'm gonna be writing back to back, so they won't be, in terms of production breaks, there won't be as much of a break between those 2 episodes as there was from episode 1 and 2. And then episode 5 is the mid-season finale. So it's like, smack dab in the middle of the season, because there's 10 episodes total. That's my anticipated, run of episodes that is going to be for this season. It's going to be 10 episodes total. So season 5, or episode 5 will be, episode 5 will be, the mid-season finale, and it'll probably be released early next year. Yeah, so this show, my anticipated timeline for the show is that it's going to take at maximum 2 years to complete. 2 years, I mean like season 2 will take 2 years. So at the end of 2025, it'll probably be the end of the show, or the end of this season. I don't really have plans to do a season 3. I'm not going to say never, but I really don't have plans for it, because this season is meant to sort of wrap up the season in a nice little bow, or the show as a whole. It's meant to wrap it up in a nice little bow. But yeah, so that's to answer your question on the production timeline and how things are going with production. TLDR, I haven't written anything yet. But now we can talk about Now we can talk about the season 2, episode 2 production. I already touched on the burnout and feeling worthless. I literally have that in my outline for this stream. Just literally have burnout / feeling worthless. Talked about the central themes of the show, basically. Okay, so now we get to this. So after season 2, episode 1, like I said, I was very discouraged with the production, and I had a bit of burnout, and I sunk into a bit of a slump. So when I went back and I was like, all right, I'm never gonna let this happen again. So I'm going to thoroughly try to flesh out the story as much as I can ahead of time, so I don't feel like I'm like just spontaneously coming up with shit, out of and there's no structure to it. Because that's what it felt like with episode 1. Because I knew where I was going, but like I was laying down the tracks, but it was like what it felt like to me was like I was laying down the tracks for my story, but the train was on the rail about like 10 miles, or no, on the rail about like, only 100 feet before I was laying down the tracks. So like I had to lay them down really fucking fast, and I didn't really have time to like make sure that they were like sturdy and properly aligned. And so that's sort of my analogy for what it felt like to work on episode 1. It's my mistake. No one was pressuring myself but me. I just created a working environment that, at the end didn't really turn out the best product in my opinion. But I made sure to rectify that in the second episode. So with that in mind, I went back and I reworked some of the storylines or some of the plot details for season 2, because I was like, the initial way that I had written it, the show was like going in a direction that did not feel authentic to, like I was saying, like you don't want to put your characters in a position that they wouldn't be in otherwise, that is completely outside of their character. So I had to change around a few details and completely alter the story in some ways, because I had realized that I was pushing the story in a direction that wasn't authentically true to the characters and where the story should be going. And so I sort of just let the characters speak to me in a way where it was like, okay, this is what the character is going to be doing now based on who they are as a person. And then based on that, this is, what the next plot detail is going to unravel. So like, and I think that's a really good tip for a lot of writers, to just not force your story in a point, in a direction that just doesn't feel authentic, because the viewer is going to notice that. Your audience is going to pick up on that, and they're going to be like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't really work for the story. And then, you might run into a problem where your story doesn't feel cohesive because it's completely, where your story is going completely detracts from, the character's internal wants and needs, yeah, I took like 1 or 2 classes in college on like creative writing and the hero's journey and screenplay writing. So I'm sort of talking out of my ass about that stuff, but that's sort of like the key notes that I took from it. I should really brush up on that stuff though. I bought a book for it, for the hero's journey, but I haven't read it yet. 'Cause I sort of feel like, as long as you know the basics of how to lay out your story and you understand structure, you don't really need to adhere to it as, to like beat by beat. You can move things around and switch it up a little bit. But yeah, so reworked the whole story, and then I was like, all right, now episode 2. I initially had planned from the beginning to make episode 2 a lot more of like a fun episode that sort of harkened back to the tone of season 1, because I knew episode 1 was going to be a bit more character and plot focused, and a bit more heavy on the drama, because I had to build up and set up all these things for the season and what the season was going to be about. And so then episode 2, I wanted to just make it more light on the drama until like obviously the very end, but make it more just focused on Zach's like internal dilemma as like a character, and how he's just lacking so much confidence, and his fear of failure and the expectations that are put upon him in the first episode are sort of like holding him back from like his full potential, I guess, if you want to call it. And so yeah, so then I wrote the episode like that. It was like a capture the flag like tournament match, first to 5 players win. And then what was really like challenging about the writing process and why it took me a bit longer than expected was because I got all of like the scenes where they're just talking to each other, and it's mainly like like all like the dialogue scenes where they're just talking and there's like no action involved, but they're all like just having one large dialogue in a room together. I got all those scenes done first, because those scenes I put in my head as being like, okay, those scenes are just straight up like character and plot focused. Like that's the central crux of the story, because like the scene, you can structure it like this, where Act 1 is Zach and Jacob and the rest of the lobby are in the they're in the pre-lobby, I guess, waiting for the match to start, and everyone's just joining, and everyone's being introduced and explained to what they're actually there for. And so that's all like your setup. And then Act 2 is the conflict immediately. That's when the game starts, and then they start to fight. And then your second act low point is when they're all your heroes, your protagonists, I guess, in this story are defeated and they're ready to give up, but Zach is like, Zach's not willing to give up in that moment. And then your Act 3, your climax is when they come back and they try to win, and then the resolution is when they were defeated ultimately, but they aren't. There was still something to learn from that defeat, because Zach proved to himself, he proved to Jacob, but mainly to himself, that he was capable, just if he gave himself the chance, right? So it's sort of you get a bit of an arc for him there, a little arc in the episode, right? And so that was sort of how I framed the episode. But like what was challenging was writing action where I also communicated a story through action. And because I had to basically choreograph everything, so before I even wrote the script, I created the map, created the actual environment, the sets for the characters to interact in. And then once I created that map, I was thinking while I was doing it, I was like, okay, what kind of story beat in the action can I have here? And then how can I pay that off after? So like, for instance, you have like, the whole game, Scopes, like No Bull Scopes and Razorback, they're arguing with each other, like they're bickering and fighting with each other. And, because Scopes or Razorback just sees him as inadequate and useless to the team. And, Scopes just wants to be given his chance to use the sniper and all this stuff, right? And so then in the third act, because of all that setup that you have with them being like a dysfunctional unit, then you have the payoff where Scopes saves Razor from being killed by the jetpack guy using the grenade launcher, and then and then retroactively, right after, Razorback saves Scopes from being assassinated by the active camo guy. So it's like there's a nice little story and tiny arc woven in just the action itself. There's not even dialogue exchanged in that, So that was sort of what I was trying to do, was try to do like setup and payoff in the action as well, telling stories through the action. So it took me some time to figure out that, because I had to also like consider what was possible in the game and how I could make that work. So I would come up with an idea, then write it in the script, and then like work it out in my head and be like, does this work? Can I do this in the game? And then when I got to the filming process, I would actually like basically see if what I wrote was doable in the game. There were some things that had to be a little bit altered for, the sake of it. And obviously once you get in the game, your story's going to alter a little bit, because there's just things that you pick up on while playing the game that could slightly impact how you play. Like, for instance, I didn't have it initially that the Warthog guy was like Hog Rider. I didn't have it initially that he gets stuck in the door frame like every game. Like, I didn't write that initially. I did it as like just a joke in the game, not even knowing if I was going to use that. But then once I did, I was like, okay, now I have a chance to like go in, do and revise the script, and have that line where Monkey Club says like, you do this every time. Why can't you just park outside the base? So it's like it's implied that every round he gets stuck in the door, And so I thought that was like a funny little setup and payoff moment there. And so yeah, so it's just stuff like that, trying to design a story through action as well as dialogue. That just took me a bit of thinking and consideration. And then the other thing was like coming up, before even doing all of this, I tried to come up with like, all right, what maps do I want to, environments do I want to use in this episode? Because there's only 2 environments that I use in this episode, but I have to use them. I have to choose wisely, because I don't want to use because this is supposed to be a different server to the main server of the Team Killtacular's recruitment, or whatever the fuck they're called. So I wanted to make sure that the server that I'm using, like the map, was very distinct and very different from Highlands, right? So I chose Ridgeline because I like the look of it. Initially, I was gonna use just like the remake of Blood Gulch on Forge World, but I have an idea for what I want to use Forge World for in the show. So I'm trying to use the amount of variety that of map selection that Reach has to my benefit. I don't want to have like a majority of my locations being set on Forge World. If I go to Forge World, I want it to be distinctly for like a given set piece or a scene, so that way like you know, if someone were to like revisit the show at some point, they'd be like, "Oh, that's this scene, and it happens on Forge World." Like when you're imagining, you know, I want like images of the show to stick with people. And so if you set every episode on Forge World or a given map, you're not going to get those like you know, those specific images that stick in your head as well. At least that's my thinking. So I want to use the variety of maps that Reach offers in my show. And so this episode I chose Ridgeline, and then for the final scene I chose Boardwalk because I liked how like the top half, like the exterior of Boardwalk was like very sort of bright, but still a bit ominous and gloomy with the background of like the war and like the gunshots going on. Because it's like it's surrounded in because it's set in this war-torn city in Reach, right? Like that's the story context of the Reach campaign, where the map is set. But in itself, it's just like a barren like boardwalk city street. And so I liked that sort of environment where it's like a bit of a gloomy, desolate, and an ominous sort of exterior top that's very bright. And then like when the streamer walks down the stairs and plunges into this like dark underbelly of the map, and that's where, you know, Skullface appears, right? And so I just thought thematically that would work well. And then that's what you do when you look for locations. At least that's what I've noticed in machinima, is that I try to look for things that help me tell my story. You know, whether that be through symbolism in the set decorations of the map. Like there's a couple of shots in the final scene where Skullface is like present in the foreground, and in the background there's like a doorway, and on the top of it says exit. And that was sort of meant to visually represent the fact that because Skullface is in the game with Straight Shooter, the streamer, because he's in the game with him, Straight Shooter can't get out. He's basically locked in the game, and you know, him being in front of the exit sign is meant to represent that Skullface is you know, blocking his path to the exit of the game. Sort of symbolically what that's meant to represent, right? So I try to look for things like that because I just think it's cool. But yeah, so I touched on the location. I touched on writing the character and action drama a little bit. And yeah, because I think anything that you show on screen, there needs to be a point. There needs to be a purpose for it, right? And so I don't want to just, you know, like, because what I sort of took pride in with this episode, with episode 2, was that I was telling a story through action, like believable action that players would be able to do in the game, in like the actual vanilla version of the game. But you know, doing it in a way where it also told a story through the action, with setup and payoff from the previous scenes to, you know, what they would be doing in the final scene, right? So I feel like that sort of makes the episode special, and you know, instead of just like, oh, they just shoot guns at each other, like there's like it's like I put thought into the action in the episode, and it wasn't just like, oh, they all fire assault rifles at each other. They all fire the same weapon at each other. There's no like variety in the action. There's no set pieces or anything like that. So I tried to, you know, put some little bit of pizzazz on it or something, and I don't know. I hope it didn't go unnoticed. Um and Yeah, so another thing is probably like that I hope also didn't go unnoticed was the attention to detail in the filmmaking. Because I looked at episode 1 and I was like, I like my execution of some scenes in that episode, but there's some scenes that I wish I could go back and rework, not only like basically from the ground up, not only from the scripting point perspective, but also just in how I shot it. But my biggest sort of note of that episode, of working on episode 2, was how can I improve my direction and my cinematography and just my storytelling through a visual, in a visual sense, right? And so I really tried to pay attention to how I was framing certain scenes, like my shot composition, and like how I would decide to film the scenes, given if like, if one character's talking to the other character, am I gonna cut to a over the shoulder? Am I gonna cut to just a medium shot single, or am I gonna cut to a close up, or a wide shot, or a master, or a full shot? Like, being a little bit more careful and considerate of like what the story calls for in the edit, and not just like, oh, I need to have, like, I planned it ahead, basically is what I'm saying. There was a lot more extensive planning in this episode, and I think it pays off in the final product, because you see that it's not just like a random assortment of shots thrown together, but that's that's pretty much it, all I have to say on that. Yeah, the film making, like the actual production process of like shooting it, pretty much same standard. Just load up a bunch of profiles into a game, and I tried to break it up this time into like smaller chunks of like gameplay film, because I don't want to have to, because when you record, when you're doing machinima, it's going to capture everything that you do in the game. So the amount of time that you spend in the game, that's going to add up once you have to like repeatedly go back and scrub through all your gameplay film, and you have to like because if it takes you 10 minutes just to set up a certain shot or a sequence, that's going to be 10 minutes that you have to fast forward through in your theater mode timeline. So I tried to do a different thing this time, where instead of loading up all my profiles and just filming everything that I can at once and have to scrub through all this stuff, I just made smaller, bite-sized, like individual gameplay films that I could just easily like set up. Like, oh, okay, so like for example, I have one action where the Warthog guy like drives out of the base, nearly hits Razor, and then plunges down and then gets killed by Straight Shooter. So like that's one gameplay film, and then the next one that involves like Straight Shooter as well, like the scene where the shot where it's Straight Shooter, or no, I mean the scene where Razor. Sorry, this is confusing, but the scene where Razor is shooting, like he shoots the jetpack guy after Scopes is killed and blown up. Like there's like 4 different characters in that scene, and there's only 3 characters required in the scene where the Warthog guy is blown up. So like I used 2 separate gameplay films just to make it easier to manage all of these scenes, and then I just shoot them one at a time and then bring them together in the edit, if that makes sense. And then the actual process of editing, I would just basically what I do, I'd film a scene, then I'd put it in my editing timeline, cut it up, make a basic assembly, and then I created for each scene in this episode, I created individual sequence files And then I had one master project, which I didn't do in the episode 1, and it sort of made editing a bit hard because the more data and processing power that like the more data and memory that your sequence holds, the more processing power it's going to require, and it just makes the timeline, it makes your NLE software, your timeline, slow down like tremendously, and it makes editing just a freaking nightmare. And so I try to split it up into individual sequences based on like scenes. So there's like 10 scenes or something like that in this episode. So I had 10 sequence files, and then when I wanted to complete my master and throw in the music, I just put them all into one master file. It's what you do in a lot of film productions, just to conserve processing power and time and frustration and agony and all those things that you'd probably want to you probably want to mediate the amount of energy that you spend suffering on a film set or on a film project. Yeah, and then after that, I made music. Like I said, the music. You think about it. Episode 2 only had about, I'd say like, what was that? It was like 2 or 3 original compositions of music that I developed for the show. And then by episode 2, I have like 7 more compositions of music that I made. 5 of which were in this episode 2, I think. And then 2 of which I'm going to use in later episodes of the season. And I'm going to make more music as I go along, just because I like making it. And if I ever need a new piece of music for a given scene, I'll just make I'll just make some more tracks. But yeah, that being said, I do want to invest some money into actually getting like more sound packs, because it's nice using the I'm getting a lot of use out of the FL Studio just default presets and samples and plugins, but I want some I want some more variety that I can work with that I can probably make some really cool shit. So I'm probably going to look into getting that at some point too. Especially some drum, some drum kits, like just standard percussion kits. 'Cause, I'm using so far I've been using like the default hats and hi-hats and snares and kick drums, and they're all right. Like, I've been trying to, use as much as I can and get as much out of it as I can, with the money that I've invested in FL Studio. But I need some more variety. I need some more punch in the sound. I don't know music theory. I'm not a music guy. I just make this shit because out of desperation for my show. If I had the money, I'd probably just hire a composer, but I don't. So instead, I make amateur beats in my bedroom. But I think for what they are, I think they do pretty well at establishing a tone or a feeling. That's all I really need them to do, is just elicit a particular feeling or tone through the sound of the music. I mean, that's, I'm not a classically trained musician or composer, so I just go based off of feeling and sound. Whatever notes come together and make me feel a certain way, that's how I sort of gauge what I'm doing. And if what I'm doing is going to be good for a given scene or just to be part of the soundtrack. But yeah, again, shameless plug. You can get my music. The links are in the description and on my website. It's available now on Spotify, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, and not Apple Music yet. But you can also just listen to it on YouTube Music. Yeah. So I mean, that pretty much covers. I know this isn't much of like a celebration. I mean, this is pretty much standard what I would be talking about and rambling on about in these types of streams anyway. But I just wanted to come on here and just, celebrate the fact that I've wasted a year of my life on this show, and I'm probably going to waste another year of it on this show. But, self-deprecating humor aside, I really do like where the show is going, even though there's only 2 episodes out, and maybe you can't really see like a grand sort of like story being delivered at this point. I don't even like phrasing it like that. Like, again, I don't think my shit is fucking you know, I don't think my shit is going to be as impactful as like the Bible, you know, or like any sort of like renowned filmmaking like Goodfellas or The Godfather, you know. It's not going to be on that level, and I don't really want it to be, but I do want to, you know, I hope that this stream sort of shows that I'm not just like, you know, the shit isn't just coming out of my ass. I'm actually taking time and care into what I'm doing to tell a story that I think just means a lot to me. And I heard somewhere, I think it was one of my film classes, but it was something like, the phrase was the more personal the story that you're telling is to you, the more personal it'll be to others, or like the more it'll connect with others, or something like that. Which seems like a contradicting thing, but it makes sense, because, you know, if a story and, you know, the message behind it connects with you and it means something to you, there's bound to be some other person that is probably going to connect with the same ideas and meaning behind your story. Just because we're all sort of going through our own shit, especially right now at my age, or in this time in general. There's a lot of people struggling with, you know, self-belief and you know, having the courage to pursue things that they probably would like to do, but they're afraid of failing. They're afraid of commitment, you know, and my show is about that, and sort of just to show you that, you know, yeah, failure's a thing, but I don't think you should be scared of it. I think failure is important. I think failure is what makes us human. I think without failure, we are not, you know, we're not people, you know. I guess without failure, you'd be God, right? And I'm not really like a religious person, but like yeah, failure is what makes us, it's a part of being human. You're not going to succeed or, you know, do everything perfect. There is no, the idea of doing something, and this is the other thing too, I would always call myself a perfectionist, but I'm, you know, no one's perfect. You can never be perfect. You can never make something perfect, because you know, you're always going to be able to poke and prod at something and critique something to its minute detail and be like, oh no, that's, you know, I thought this thing was perfect, but now looking back on it, there are some flaws. Like, that's always going to happen. You're never going to make something perfect, but you can always strive for perfection. You can always strive to make something to the best of your ability, or to strive to, you know, put all your best work forward. And that's just sort of part of the message behind the show. I don't know if it's readily apparent right now, but hopefully when the season goes on, that's what it'll be about. And that'll be a lot clearer to understand. And I don't think I gave a lot away just by admitting the theme of the show, because you still don't know how the show's going to end. You know, everybody could fucking die, like actually die. Like everybody in the show could just, like, I don't know, from like some sort of virus could just like die, and everybody could just collapse playing Xbox. And their last days would be spent on their Xbox 360s as the servers get shut down. Like, just letting you know that's not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else to touch on. I mean, I would play, because last time I did something like this, when I broke down an episode production, like a production of one of my episodes, like I think it was the episode 1 premiere stream, I went in and looked at a catalog of my music, or my music creating like journey, to see like where I came from at that point. But I didn't really make too many tracks I didn't make too many tracks this time that I didn't end up using for the show. But I mean, I guess while we're here, before we end things, we can take a lesson, because that's sort of in the vein of what this sham that is a podcast, a show is, right? Like the Piss Archives. The point is that I'm incoherently rambling about nothing that's going to matter tomorrow, nothing that's going to matter in the next hour, and you're probably going to all forget about it. But it's sort of, I guess, like a little bit of a mini doc for me. I get to just like preserve all of this stuff, and everything that I say is live. If my flubs are live, and if I sound like an insane person, then I mean, there's like that's just what it is. We're all a bit insane, though. I mean, let's be real. But all right, let's open this up. So yeah, we can touch on these a little bit before we go. I don't think that's going to take too long. But I appreciate everybody who's here. Hope it didn't bore everybody. I didn't get any questions besides like the guy asking if I could react to the Crash episodes, which again, I want to preface, I don't have any disdain for the guy. It was sort of a joke between me and Jacob, because I was talking to Jacob initially when I was thinking about making the show. I was like, Jacob, there's this dude, he makes this show called Crash. It's like a Halo machinima, and it's getting like a lot of attention right now, and it's really making me want to work on a show. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think seeing other people achieve success, and it inspiring someone to achieve, sort of make their own thing, I think that's just the essence of creativity. And because like you admire someone's work, you see what they're able to accomplish, and you want to try it on your own. And that's what I did. And our shows are completely different. Like his show and my show are two completely different shows that exist in the same medium, and I think that's pretty cool. And there's a bunch of other people that were inspired by him, and a bunch of other creators that are making stuff right now. I recently stumbled upon someone's channel where they have, I guess, like 3 of their favorite machinima creators on the channel, and one of them was me, which I thought was so fucking cool. I was like he has a playlist for like 3 different people. It's like the Boomerang guy who does the Crash. He has like all of his, they're all like public playlists, by the way. So like he has the Boomerang like Crash episodes all in one playlist just for his own like pleasure, I guess, so he can watch them at his leisure. And then he has like the Scribble heads. I don't know. He's there's another big creator in the machinima space. I forget the name. And then my show, which I think is so cool. Like I don't know. I just think it's really cool that like some guy just like made a playlist for my show, for like his own personal like enjoyment. It's like, I already have a playlist of my show. You can go on my channel and look at it, but he made one of his own, and I just think that's kind of cool. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, let's see what kind of tracks we have. So I guess I could share my screen, and we could look at some of these project files. Let me know if you guys want to do this, by the way, because if not, I'll just fucking turn this shit off. I don't care. So if you think I'm boring you, if you think you just want to go to bed, just let me know and I'll stop. But here we can start. So I've made, since episode 1 of season 2, I've about like 25 more project files, but a lot of them are just like scratch files. Like they're really like they're not songs at all. They're like nothing. So let's see here. Here, let me put on my, is this gonna actually work? Let me see. Okay, cool. Yeah, I have to fucking rework this shit. Like I gotta, again, I'm gonna do a whole rebrand because I don't really like this border thing. Whatever, it's fine. Doesn't matter right now. All right, so this is Project 11. This was just something that I was working with. I don't know if I'm gonna turn it into anything for the show, but I like how it sounds. If it's too loud, let me know. But this is sort of a little loop that I did. It's sort of I've showed it to my friends and they said it sort of sounds like it's sort of reminiscent of like Stardew Valley or like Terraria music. Like very video gamey, like main menu type music, but this is what it sounds like. Yeah, so just loops from there. That's all I really have is like just that melody. I was thinking about maybe turning it into something else, but I don't know yet. Here, let me change this to is this gonna fuck this up if I what if I just change it to here, is that gonna work? Okay. It still did this. Oh wait, that's why. Okay, there we go. Now I'm not showing the project files. Okay, so this one is okay, this one was what's currently available on all streaming platforms. This was the skill issue one. I don't gotta play this one. You can just find that on your own. You can find it on YouTube Music if you don't want to leave YouTube. What is this? So this was they're not all heat, you know, they're not all bangers, you know? You get me? Oh, this is hold on, there we go. A little bit of a club banger. Yeah, so that was when I was sort of like working out like one of the action tracks for episode 2. But it just sort of sounds like I don't know, it wasn't fast enough, it wasn't punchy enough. But that's one of them, right? So this one here is what's this one? It's another loop. So this one was that one there was probably something like sort of just like a lot of these like scratch ones. A lot of these scratch like tracks is just sort of me like just I have a melody in my head. I'm fucking around with the sequencer and I'm just like, what can I like, let's just put something here just to get either get the creative juices flowing or just to like exceed some sort of thesis that's in my head, so I can just like, all right, I got that melody out, I tried it, let's see if it works. If it doesn't sound right, maybe I can work on it later. That's what a lot of the tracks from episode 2 were. They were a lot of like tracks that I were initially just like scratch tracks, and I was just like, all right, I'll make a melody, make a simple beat, and then maybe I'll go back to it. And then I ended up going back to a few of them, and they turned into the tracks that they are now. Because again, I'm not like a trained musician or composer. I'm a dude who just like I listen to a plugin. Like I put in a plugin. I arrange a few notes, and I'm like, oh, does that sound cool? All right, yeah, that sounds all right. Let's put a little bit of a kick drum, a little bit of snare, a little bit of hi hat, dazzle, a little bit of clap, a little bit of a sting. And yeah, that's what I do. I don't, nothing too complicated. Like anybody can do this shit, and um, that's why I'm making my own music now. Because for a while, I didn't know that I could do this. I didn't know that I could make my own music. I thought it was so difficult. Like I would have to learn music theory. I'd have to learn all this shit, and my shit isn't like fucking, it's not like Marty O'Donnell or like John Williams, but like, you know, it's just what it needs to be for my show. It's all about eliciting. To me, it's all about capturing a feeling, a tone, a mood for just whatever I need for a given scene or moment in an episode. So that's just my sort of philosophy with composing this music. This was another scratch track. Again, just like fucking around. You'll see the improvement eventually, I think, but a lot of these are just scratch tracks. The only ones that I think I finished at this point were like the ones that are in the episode or that are on the album right now. This is just like a weird like dubstep riff that I was just fucking around with. Maybe I'll do something with it at some point. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, like I don't know. I don't think I'm the right person to like introduce to like maybe do like a tutorial on this shit, because I mean I don't do anything crazy like complex. Like, you want to see what I do? This is what I do. So I go here, find a sound, I drop it in there, I test it out. Like I'll pull up the keyboard, I'll hit a few notes. Okay, that sounds good. Then I'll go in here, then I'll go place a few notes, and then I play. Oh shit. And then I play. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And then I just move on to the next thing. like it's nothing too complex, but maybe one day I'll do a stream where I'm just sitting down and I force myself to make a track from scratch on stream, and you guys can just watch me like go insane. Because a lot of the time when I'm like making like music, I'm sitting here just listening to the same fucking like 3 or 4 notes for like 30 minutes, being like, what the fuck? But this is sort of a track. It's very reminiscent of the track Hope Is Just a Lie. I'm sort of using the same melody. It's a little bit faster and a little bit of a different arrangement in the like the hi-hats and the snare and this instrument. So I'll just play a little bit of it. Oh, shit. This is sort of Skullface's motif, this like distorted, deformed, kick drum melody. The doom, 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 doom. That thing, that's sort of his like motif. You'll hear that in like a lot of the tracks where he appears on screen. I love this thing here. It's called Edgy, that instrument. Where it's just like, it's sort of like those really like intense strings that play in like the Dark Knight. You'll hear it something similar in the Dark Knight score for the Joker. Yeah, this part, that finish is kind of a letdown. It's like building up to something, and then it's just like it's like like that bass drop. Is that it? But yeah. So I think the one that I did in the episode is just much better. I think Hope Is Just a Lie is probably one of my favorite tracks that I've made. because it's not like a musical track. It's like it's like a score. It's not really, doesn't have like a too crazy of like a it doesn't have like crazy melodies or like a really fast pace like rhythm to it. It's very slow. It builds like subtly, but it like with every new instrument that's introduced, it builds in like it gives you like a sort of like a building tension, like a building like suspense and anxiety. At least that's how I feel when I listen to it. What's this one? Oh, this one is just another scratch track. This is sort of like think of it as like boss music, like the start of boss music in like a like a 8-bit game or something. Like something really retro, you know? What the fuck is this? Oh, this was just me fucking around. I think it was just me and Jacob fucking around one day. Ah, shit. This is literally, it's nothing. We just, again, it's one of those things where you just gotta make something to just get those creative juices flowing. This was at one point probably gonna be in episode 2, but I decided against it. It's because I didn't think it sounded good. You could just see like the arrangement is weird. Like, see how there's like gaps. See those gaps in between like the patterns here. Like it's just it was odd because it was sort of like off. There was something about the arrangement of the notes where like I liked the rhythm of it, but like or I liked the tempo, but the arrangement and how it all came together was just weird. Me being just totally naive and just a fucking idiot, I try to use these like musical terms to make me sound like I know what I'm talking about. But again, I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. I just paint notes in a sequencer and I call it music. That's what I do. All right. So what's this? Okay, so this is just like a kick drum sort of like loop that I made for a track that I could potentially make in the future. Like a lot of the time with a lot of these tracks, I just come up with the like a kick drum melody like loop first. Just because like I have like a sense of like how I want the song to like the rhythm of the song to go. And then like I'll maybe layer on like a synth string or something that gives it a bit more of like actually like a personality. That's sort of what I do sometimes. Let's see here. Like a lot of these tracks, they'll just be like, just like drum loops that I make. Just because I think like, oh, that would sound really cool. Like it's a similar thing with this one. This one there's multiple versions of it because I have like 2 different ideas. The thing is I'm trying to make like an open lobby theme, but I don't know if I honestly like have a good theme in mind. Like I think you could honestly just say like a number of the tracks that I've already made could just be like the open lobby theme. Like the track Walk With Me could be an open lobby theme. The track Last Chance could be an open lobby theme. Like I don't have like a like a melody that is like, oh, that's the open lobby theme, you know, which I would like to have like an identifiable melody that you can just listen to and immediately think, oh, open lobby. But to sort of have like a central identity that the show is based around melodically, I still haven't come up with one, and I don't know if I will. But this is sort of my attempt at one. It uses a similar melody from one of those first tracks that I showed you, the Terraria Stardew Valley sounding track. So, yeah, that's like one version of it. There's like another one here that's just like really crazy. I'm going to be honest. This one's pretty wild. It's a lot of sound, so just get ready. Let me see here. Let me see if I can add some notes here just so it flows better. All right, so this is sort of the first part here. It's going to lead into the lead melody, and then there's going to be another melody that's right underneath. All right. This one, again, it's just like sort of a collage of sound that, you know, I was just vibing with at the time, but I don't think it's going to actually be a track. It might not turn into a track because it just sounds, there's certain tracks that I've made where they just sound like a mess, you know, like there's no cohesion in the actual sound of it. It just sounds like a audio, I don't know, like a weird concoction of sound. I don't know. Just you'll hear it. I like that. Like I like this lead melody. I think it's kind of fun. But then this part over this. I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one, Chief. I don't know if I like that. Yeah, but that's so that's all that I have of that. I don't know if it's going to turn into anything. But you know, maybe. Okay, let's move on. So this is sort of when I actually, like, all of that, most of that was, like, scratch work. This is when I started taking it a little bit seriously. So this one is the track, we won't play this one, it's because it's already available, you can listen to it. The track is called Believe. When I initially made it, it was one of my favorite tracks. I think it still is up there, but yeah, Believe, highly recommend you give that one a listen. Just like shamelessly shilling my shit. This is sort of something that I'm coming up with at the moment. I don't know. Like, I'm probably going to have to change the instrumentation. Like, the instruments that I'm using, I'm probably going to have to change. But I kind of like the vibe that it is. It's a little bit slower. It's a little bit, like, more like we're sitting in on this, like, sort of like a end of the journey's road kind of like sound, a little bit more somber, like bittersweet sounding. But I'll probably have to rework it. But this is sort of what I have so far. It's gonna be the initial sound might throw you off a bit, so turn down your volume a little bit if you just a fair warning. Just a lot of like that like grain, that like I don't know, like that static sound. I like it. It's rich. this part, I'm going to completely change. I don't like the melody that I chose for this. Yeah, so that's all I got there. Probably going to change. I like sort of how it sounds, but I'll probably change it up a little bit. Just work on it. This is Straight Vibes. That's music is already available for listening. What is this? Okay, so this is sort of like another villain theme. Again, just something that I came up with. Just trying to just trying something. Everything that you tried isn't always going to pan out, but you never give up. Don't give up. What is this? This is another drum loop. Okay, so it's basically just what ultimately became Hope Is Just a Lie. Like the second half of Hope Is Just a Lie, but with a much faster tempo. Okay. I think this is... Oh, this is sort of a draft of what would later become Last Chance music that I've composed. I think this is the previously on track. Yep. So these final projects here, we're getting towards the end where a lot of it I was just straight heat. It's just a lot of the tracks in this final few that I've worked on were a lot of just tracks that I came up with something simple and then I just kept working at it and working at it and working at it. And that's sort of a philosophy of life in a way, You come up with something small. You keep working at it, you keep working at it, you keep working at it until eventually you see the big picture and it turns into what you thought it would be. You never give up. Another drum loop. Again, just something like a little semi-fast paced, little funky. Could potentially be something. Maybe not. But you never know. I always keep these drum loops saved just in case. Just in case I put I come up with a melody and I put it over the top and it works out. What's this? Yeah, we're almost at the end here. I think this is Project 30. I don't hate this actually. I like this. Pretty serious. Got to change that snare. That snare is not it, but I like the rest of it. Okay. It's good that I'm doing this stuff on stream too, because I probably wouldn't go back and check some of these as often as I'm, but I'm sort of obliged to do it now, since I'm presenting all of my scratch work. That's just dog shit. like a lot of this isn't really great, but that's sort of the process. You try a bunch of stuff, not all of it's going to pan out, but you just keep working at it. This is another drum loop. I like this one actually a lot. I'm thinking of maybe a melody that immediately comes to mind is a sort of a winding, sort of wow, 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 like that sort of sound. Again, that's literally what I do. I'll make a drum loop, and then I'll be like, all right, what is immediately a melody? What am I vibing with that comes to mind? And then I'll just do it with my mouth, and then I'll find a synth. I'll come up with a melody, and then do it in my head, and then I'll mouth it out, and then I'll try to find whatever plugin that fits that sound. It's just that's just my process, man. It sounds fucking dumb, but that's what I do. What is this? I think this was me trying to make another theme for the show. For some reason, I'm thinking of like a high note flute, like a do 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 do, or something like that. This is another drum loop. Okay, and I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it for all of them. The rest of them are all completed tracks that are available for listening. So if you want to if you like the music, I'm not forcing you to. No, I am forcing you. Watch the fucking. No, sorry, hold on. Let me. Listen to the fucking music, you son of a bitch. No. Hey, listen to the fucking. Tell him to listen to the music. Tell him to listen to the music, you son of a bitch. I'm yelling at my dogs. They're freaking out. There. You really gonna not listen to the music? Look at them. They like the music. Why can't you listen to the music? Listen to the music, you son of a bitch. Sorry, I had to guilt trip you. If you don't listen to the music, the dogs get it. All right, this is fucking serious business. Listen to the music, or you're. I don't want to say anything too crazy now. But yeah, that was this little stream. It's nice to catch up. Nice to just have an outlet to vent, and to catalog my insane ramblings. And I'm here with all my friends. Yeah, look at all my friends. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. I mean, this was fun. I like talking about my shit. I like shooting the shit. I like taking a piss. I appreciate everyone who's showed up. Everyone who's who's ever just like clicked on one of my videos and maybe only tuned in for like a minute. I don't know why you do that. Because you're kind of the point once you like, or when you watch something, you want to like. Watch it to the end to like see how it pans out. But if you only watch it for a minute and then you like click off because you're not disinterested, I appreciate the view. Thank you for watching. But no, with all seriousness, I appreciate everyone who showed up for the stream, everyone who's shown support for the show. It means a lot to know that there's people out there that actually enjoy what I do, like what I can make. Because that's my dream, is to just make stuff for people and enjoy it. For a while, I thought my dream was to make a career out of being a filmmaker, be like a career filmmaker. And that is still the dream of mine. Like, yeah, like any creative would want to, make money off of their art, like to live off of their art. Any creative would want to do that, and live comfortably. But I've sort of also come to terms with the fact that I have other interests in life that I can turn into a sort of a monetary success, financially as well. So, I'm not just like, I used to think that filmmaking was like my life and it was my sole passion, and I was put on this earth to make movies, and that was going to be my one thing. And it is. I mean, I no doubt about it. I'm going to make shit, tell stories till the day I die, because I'm immensely passionate for it. This isn't a phase, Mom. All right, Mom, I know you're watching. This isn't a phase, Mom. I'm doing this shit for life. Maybe this is like one lifelong phase where I'm like, I never grow out of it. And, you know, that might be true. I am kind of a man-child. But, you know, sometimes it's okay to live in your delusions. um, but no, I would just be extremely grateful if I could make stuff that I'm passionate about and, you know, just do it for the rest of my life because I enjoy it. Not just because there's any sort of financial incentive behind it, but just because I enjoy what I do. And I enjoy that it's an added bonus that what I do brings joy and entertainment to people, you know, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you guys. You know, and if you also just hate my stuff, like if you just hate watch my stuff, that's cool too. You know, again, like thanks for the view. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, like I'm just rambling at this point. But thank you guys for coming out. I'd like to do some more of these streams in the future. Again, I'm not a person that can really create a schedule, like a streaming schedule. Like I don't think I can commit to a stream every week, just because I have to be in the right mood for it. I don't want to come on here and be like on a day where I'm not feeling like it, and then I'm like very low energy and I'm very like not willing to, like I'm forcing myself to project like a persona onto the and talk, because I don't want to be fake. I want to be genuine. I don't want to put on a face for you guys. And you know, I'd rather, if I'm gonna do this, I'd rather enjoy it. You know, I'd rather set a time for myself when I'm ready and enjoy this. But I would consider definitely doing like a gaming stream at some point in the future. I don't know if I would do like I don't know if I would do like a production like walkthrough stream where like you guys watch me work on the next episode, because one, I don't want to spoil anything that could be derived from, you know, me like shooting a machinima sequence or me editing. And also I sort of find comfort in just being able to work on the show independently in isolation. Like if I was streaming me working on the show, I feel like I would be I would be forced to like try to be entertaining and put on a show for you guys. And a lot of the time when I'm working, I'm literally just sitting here like stone faced, like moving like you playing with the fucking joystick, just trying to get the precise movements of the characters. So, you know, I don't think it would make for a great stream, but a gaming stream is definitely something I'll consider. And maybe, you know, maybe I can get like one of my friends on, like Jacob, and we can hang out and do something. But I don't know. I don't want to force that upon him. We recently got into watching. We started watching Yu-Gi-Oh, and that shit is fucking like crack. like we watched like the first 10 episodes, and we were like, I was literally dumbfounded. Like I for like 3 times while we were watching those in those first 10 episodes, I could not believe what the fuck was going on. Like the pacing of the show was so unbelievably out of control that like I broke like 3 times, where I was just in hysteria and I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. Like not even like because the show was funny, but just because like the sheer concept of the show and the pacing of it, and the fact that they don't even like clue you in on all the details of what the fuck is going on. You're just meant to go along with it. And it's like, what the fuck is happening? Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. So that's probably what we will be doing whenever we hang out, you know, when we can. But so I don't know if I'll be able to convince him to hop on a stream. But, you know, we'll see what we can do. Anyway, yeah, as far as the episodes go, soon, probably next week, I'll start working on a draft for episodes 3 and 4. So I won't keep delaying that so that it's taking even longer and longer for these episodes to come out. I promise that they'll be out much sooner than I can promise you that they'll be out much quicker than the span of time between episodes 1 and 2 of season 2. I can promise you that. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm gonna stop wasting your time. Thank you all for coming out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right. Thank you, everybody. And I can't like stop the stream and wave goodbye at the same time. So I gotta do some. Hold on. Let me figure this out. Okay. And I should get my stand. Bye. Bye.